Hi everyone, it's Lolita. Now that we have traced our drawing with the marker, we're going to take that tracing and transfer that to Newsprint, and that's what this video is about. Hope you enjoy. Now that I have traced my shapes with a marker, I'm going to take this photo and tape it to the window and place the newsprint over, and that is what I will use to transfer my initial drawing to the newsprint. So I've taped down what I drew on the photo, and I have that also drawn. I've already gone over the drawing in marker, and I'm just going to trace this onto my newsprint now. You don't want to go directly onto your watercolor paper. It's going to be a two-step process where you transfer it onto your newsprint first, and then you're going to take it from your newsprint, and we'll do this exact same process all over again, where you'll tape up your watercolor and you'll trace that from what you traced here in your onto your newsprint. So I'm just fairly confident with the lines that I put down. So I'm just going over what I drew before. I'm going over that with a marker. Sometimes if I'm not entirely confident of the lines that I've drawn out, I might find myself going over this in pencil first and then going back over it in marker after that. So this way I have one last shot at getting my lines a little closer to what I really want them to be. Because with each generation you do lose a little bit of the shape, and each generation meaning every time you do a tracing, the initial drawing it's not exactly the same as the initial drawing. It's going to be real close, but it's never going to be exactly the same as the initial drawing. So just pushing that closer because it is a little on the dark outside at the moment that I'm doing this. And going over this, just tracing. It's not super exciting to show you guys how to do this. It's not super exciting, high action to watch because it really is just tracing and there's no real mystery to it outside of, oh, okay, that's what we're going to be doing. And the main thing you just want to take away from this is that you're going to transfer this to newsprint first. You don't want to transfer directly to your watercolor paper. That's not the kind of commitment you're looking for. The reason you don't, and it doesn't transfer real well. And you definitely, when you transfer it to your watercolor paper, you're going to be transferring it with pencil. You're definitely not going to transfer it with a marker to your watercolor paper because you're not going to use marker in this project whatsoever. There's no marker being used in this project. We're only using watercolor. So keep that in mind when you transfer your drawing, that there's definitely no marker involved in this whatsoever. In the actual final design, there's no marker. This is just strictly a watercolor project. I'm going to go over that again, get a little cleaner. I went a little wild out. I don't want to get in and block the camera, so I'm at a little disadvantage in that way. That it would be a lot easier, for one, if I was tracing this on a day that wasn't so dark, where it wasn't raining, and two, if I was tracing it without also filming. without shooting this. It's not really technically film now, is it? It is a video. So without shooting a video. So I'll clean that line up a little when I get into my final drawing. Just drawing her eye out here. Tracing that out. There's a couple different shapes in there. There's this whole shape of socket underneath. That moves down. And I'm starting to remember a lot of these from when I actually drew them. And so it's not entirely unfamiliar. This is not the first time I've done this drawing. This is the third time I've done this drawing. So I did switch out markers because that one was drying out. And moving in here, making those small shapes again. And this is the design with the organic shapes. Tracing in those small little details in her hair. And I may modify these again after I transfer them to my watercolor paper. And when I mean modify these shapes, so it's something of a living project in that way. Moving that down, I got offline with those, but that's okay. All right, returning back to the hair. And again, tracing those shapes out that I've previously established. And a little off on that one also. Okay, moving. And so when I go in and trace this onto my watercolor paper, I will avoid that line there. And making the shapes of the ear. It's mostly going to be a continuous shape. Stopping there. And just establishing the shape of the ear. Making sure that I have all of the lines, so pressing the paper closer up against the window so I can see exactly what I have and have not drawn in. And again, just tracing all of the shapes that I previously drew in. Standing back, looking at it, okay, that is everything there is done. So I think I'm going to move from this left side over here. I'm just going to do this light line in here where the end of the photo is. Pressing down again so I can see. I don't know, this may not show up on the video because it is a little on the dark side. Okay, and drawing out those shapes that I plan to put in her hair. And that moves all the way from here all the way down, filling in the shape of that earring. And following the shape of the neck all the way down through here. This is where that ends. And the hair again, establishing the shape of the neck. Some of those shapes that define the neck. All right. Finishing up some of those neck shapes, following what I have previously drawn in here. This is the necklace and the clavicles. All right, following the chin around. All of that is one shape. Moving that is one shape. And isolating off another shape. Okay, looking really good. And again, following those shapes that I previously drew in with the pencil. And doing the same with these. Okay, that has most of her neck in. This is a little bit of her hair. I'll get to that later. I'm going to go back up and finish in some of these shapes in her face. Highlight on her glasses. This is the shape of her eye moving around. Shape of her eye. I think I had a highlight in there, moving that down. I'm probably going to have to correct that shape a little. It looks like I have some highlights over here and lines here. Describing that side of her cheek. Following this shape that I previously drew. Okay. Following that. Tracing the shape of her glasses. Tracing the shape of her glasses from this angle. Getting in these shapes that define the bottom of her eyelid. Can't sheets where I have all of these in there correctly. So I do leave myself open to the idea that I might have to redo these. Oh, this got really dark. Okay. Ideally, it will stay that light. Okay, good. I'm hoping it stays that light. The video got dark. And it looks like it wraps around this direction, and again, like I said, I have to be open to making corrections again once I transfer this onto my watercolor paper. Following the contour of her nose. I'm going to trace that whole entire nose outline. And then go in and trace the shapes inside. The highlight from the glasses, the shape of the cheek. Part of the fold of the cheek as it meets the nasal portion of the face. And taking this down. So tracing, things do get lost with each generation that you trace. So you do want to, again, just keep up in the idea that you're going to have to modify these lines, or these are probably not going to be the exact way you paint them. You're going to give a little bit more consideration and to your shapes and go back in and make some adjustments as required, like on the spot adjustments. Okay, getting there, getting there. Almost done with her face. So exciting. Because then I'm going to be able to transfer it to my watercolor paper. And that is the ultimate goal for this project, is getting it onto that watercolor paper. So that way I can start painting in my values. Okay, pressing that again up next to the window so I can get a better idea of what it is that I'm looking at, a clearer picture. And moving that mouth in through there. There is a highlight I have drawn over the mouth, and then because the mouth turns, I've got a couple different shapes to define the mouth. And again, I'm probably going to have to be very open to considering that I might have to make some changes in these shapes to get it back to where I actually want to, the way I want to have the mouth described. I'm going to go ahead and just outline the entire bottom lip here. And I've got a couple, so this is definitely where I'm going to have to make some adjustments, because this got really compact in here and I can't really see all of the little different exchanges of shapes that I made. So I'm going to go back in and just add those back in manually in there, because there are shapes in there that I want to address, but I can't quite see what I've done in through here. And then almost finished. And again, I'll fill in details as needed once I've transferred my this tracing to the watercolor paper. I will go over it again and modify the shapes. Okay, that has enough of the tracing completed, and now I'm going to transfer this onto the watercolor paper. So now I'm just peeling this off of the window. Let me pull this back a little from the window so you can see that I'm peeling it off the window. So now I'm just peeling this off of the window. And that's going to leave me with this nice tracing that I have. And so I've got this nice tracing. I'm going to show you and then I'm going to pull this off of the window also. And I'm not going to really need this portion again, but I still like to keep all of my work. Okay. Now that we have this transferred to the newsprint, we are going to take this and transfer this drawing to the watercolor paper. And that's going to be in a different video. I'll see you then.